Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. If you guys are wondering why my hat is sitting low on my head, I did get a haircut. I didn't really necessarily want to show it, but you might have been wondering why the hat was sitting lower on my head. Anyway, folks, today we're going to focus on the case of Stephan Sterns and the fact that it came out that Stephan Sterns in Osceola County in Florida is facing the death penalty. It has been indicated that the state will seek the death penalty. And other than Rex Schumann, the Gilgo Beach serial killer who's awaiting trial, I can't think of a more deserving person for the death penalty than Stephan Sterns. And the unbelievable thing is that this is no surprise to any of us that the state is going for this. And I'm going to put on the state affidavit as to why, the aggravating factors as to why the state is going for the death penalty. This is considered a capital murder case. And some of the questions we have, of course, and we'll get into them over the course of the show. Jennifer Soto, the mom of Madeline Soto. We are all wondering and asking the question to ourselves, why has she not been charged? What is going on there? And we mentioned early on in this case, early on in this investigation, that even for omission, the failure to act when you have the legal responsibility to act, why hasn't she been charged with that? And I think she's even more responsible than that. I think she's actually involved. And I think many of you feel that also. But we're not hearing from the state as to why she hasn't been charged. So, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your seats, hold on to your wig, your toupee, your service dog, cat, whatever you're holding on to, your kids, your wife, because you're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch, Michael Byler.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
You know, joining me today on the show is crowd favorite, fan favorite, one of my favorites also, retired NYPD sergeant, professor at Albertus Magnus College in Connecticut, attorney, and just all-around nice guy. Welcome to the show, Professor Mike Geary. Mike.
Hey, Bill. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Thank you for having me on. Welcome, everyone.
You know, Mike, everyone knows in the chat, because I've announced it on every damn social media site, that we were happy and proud that yesterday we surpassed 70,000 subscribers, and we're hoping to continue to grow with the support of our fans, our friends, our subscribers, and the sharing of this show all over the world. And we're happy. We're happy. We're growing. We're growing and we're going, you know, and right. I think, Mike, you're a big part of that, of this channel growing, because people really enjoy you coming on and calming me down when I get a little bit too outrageous. So yeah, you keeping me in check, Mike, and that's important. So, Mike, we know this case, and it's a horrific case. Stephan Sterns, one of the worst cases we've seen in regards to, you know, CASA. We talk about, we can't use those words on YouTube. Just horrific. And people may argue, everyone can argue against or for the death penalty. I think that this day and age, it is sort of almost obsolete, because even if Stephan Sterns, he goes to trial and he gets the death penalty, he won't be punished probably for 25, 30 years, because the appeals that death penalty cases go through are they're never ending. And it seems like people are on death row for 20, 25 years, maybe not in Florida, or maybe not states like Texas, but many states, there's people on death row, for a quarter of a century. Your thoughts?
Billy, you know how I feel about the death penalty. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's cruel and barbaric. But you're right. The chances of him actually getting the death penalty, having it imposed within 24, maybe 25 years, 30 years, that's a 50-50 proposition. The way all the states that have the death penalty, they have mandatory reviews. After the state mandatory reviews are done, the attorney always tries to get it into federal court and then see if they can get the federal courts to review the case, that sort of thing. See if they could get a new trial based on some sort of technicality, whatever it is. But you're right about that. And although I'm not in favor of imposing the death penalty, it is a great tool for law enforcement, because you could hang that over a defendant's head and say, you could try your luck with a jury, or you could plead guilty and we'll give you life behind bars without possibility of parole. It's a very handy thing to have. We don't have that in New York. Death penalty was declared unconstitutional by our state Court of Appeals back in like 1995, 1996, and the issue has never been revisited. So with the Gilgo Beach killer, Rex Sherman, there's no leverage that the state can impose upon him. But with Florida, states like Florida, you do have it. And though it might not be imposed for maybe 25 or 30 years, it still hangs like the proverbial sword of Damocles over his head. And, so it's like a very, very good thing to have, because the state can then therefore look to settle this case with an elocution and a guilty plea, rather than dragging the families through all this and the public through this. But and it's going to be a long trial, and it's going to be terrible. So it is a good thing to have, and therefore, even though it's not, the chance of it being imposed are low, the fact is it's a useful thing to have in criminal justice.
Absolutely. I want to put on the screen. This is the state of Florida hereby notices the defendant and the court that, based upon the information available at this time as to the facts of this offense and the defendant's prior record, sufficient aggravating circumstances do exist to justify the imposition of the death penalty as to this defendant in this case. Therefore, the state will be requesting the imposition of the death penalty should the defendant be convicted in this case. Pursuant to Florida Statute 782.04, the state intends to prove, and has reason to believe it can prove beyond a reasonable doubt, the following aggravated circumstances. The defendant was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving use or threat of violence to the person. The capital felony was committed while the defendant was engaged in the commission of or an attempt to commit aggravated child abuse. The capital felony was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. The victim of the capital felony was particularly vulnerable due to advanced age or disability, or because the defendant stood in a position of familial or custodial authority over the victim. So those are the aggravating factors, Mike, as to why they are going for the death penalty. All, valid reasons. Your thoughts?
Billy, every state statute that has a death penalty, they're going to have the aggravating factors, and Stephan Sterns will see if he can sort of get some sort of mitigating factors presented to the jury. But the jury only has to find the existence of one of those aggravating factors and unanimously vote to find one of those aggravating factors exists. If they do, then the death penalty will be imposed upon him. So they don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt every single one that you listed. Just they only have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt one. And once that, if they do that, the death penalty will be imposed upon him. It's got to be unanimous, though. It can't be like 11 out of 12 or something like that. It's got to be 12 out of 12 jurors. It's got to be unanimous. But they only have to have one. And we, as you listed, there was a number that fit this. And to me, I'm looking at the most heinous one is that it was he stood in a position of familial or custody authority. It's terrible. And it was done in the commission of or sexual battery. It was heinous, atrocious, and cruel. All of those things. That gives the jury the ability to weigh the history of Stephan Sterns with poor Madeline, not just the act that killed her, but they get to look back at what had gone on previously during those years. And the evidence will be presented at trial of a timeline, because we know those pictures that he has are time-stamped. So he's in a very, very bad position. He deserves to be there. And the state is going for broke with this case. And I'm glad to hear it.
Absolutely. One of the things that, as we've watched this case, it was not just the fact, the heinous nature of this crime and, the evidence that they have against Stephan Sterns, but it was the fact that seemingly both Stephan Sterns and Jennifer Soto tried to hide the true facts from the police. And I think that's undeniable. And that's why I'm a little perturbed and don't understand exactly why Jennifer Soto has not been arrested and charged at this point. And, there's people out there that believe that I can't believe, well, people believe what they want to believe. But I think that, as we said, even through omission, she had the legal, advocacy to be a mother and to look out for her daughter. And failure to act is a crime.
That's right. That's right. Now, depending on her relationship with Stearns, maybe she was a very needy person, a needy lady who needed a man in her life, and she's willing to give up her daughter to him. Maybe she knew what was going on. Maybe she suspected what was going on, but it doesn't matter. You are the mother. You are the parent. You cannot give up that custodial responsibility. That and the failure to act to protect a child is actually an act. The failure to actually act when you're supposed to act to protect your child is actually an act of inaction. And so therefore, she is guilty as if she herself just voluntarily, knowingly, willingly allowed it to go on. And the idea that even if she wasn't sure that there was some sort of SA going on with her daughter, the fact that she lied or covered up for him or offered up an excuse or where he may have been or adopted some of his excuses, that shows that she's complicit in the completion of the felony because she's acting as an accomplice after the fact. So even if she didn't know all those years, if she helped him get away with it at the end, she's still as guilty as he is. And that's a sad fact. And so it does surprise you, me, and Phil and many people why she isn't arrested. But I'm not sure if they will. I think they will. I'm like you. I think they probably will. But I'm not sure what they're waiting for, what other evidence they think they need at this point. But if they do arrest her, I would not be surprised whatsoever.
Absolutely. From the chat, Judy Jettison, just a matter of time before she's arrested, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Teresa, in my opinion, she was involved in what was going on. Sour Girl from the chat, you don't put your daughter in bed with a man. Sour Girl, you hit it on the head. I mean,
That's
just
right.
Absolutely correct. Ill Wind, it's unimaginable to me. So everyone, I think, is sort of believing that Jennifer Soto does have complicity here. Mel Stiller, Jennifer Soto is going to be using all kinds of excuses, but she has none. Rosalie Labario, I have 2 daughters and watch them like a hawk. Well, good for you. I think that's what you have to do in this day and age, is to watch your kids like a hawk. Pippi Pan, in my opinion, she was utterly unstable and jealous of her daughter's relationship with her boyfriend. Absolutely disgusting. Pippi Pan, I agree with you. And if that's the case, then, she should absolutely be charged. This is what the local news had to say about this case.
The state is seeking the death penalty against Stephan Sterns.
He's charged with first-degree murder for the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. West 2's Gail Pascal-Brown is live in studio and explains what went into that decision. Gail?
Jesse, Stephan Sterns was arrested on 60 charges back in March, including capital sexual battery, lewd lascivious molestation, and unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child before that murder charge was filed in April. Now, state prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him based on several factors. 37-year-old Stephan Sterns is the boyfriend of Madeline's mother, Jennifer Soto. Madeline was first reported missing on February 26th. Now, Sterns told investigators he dropped the teenager off near Hunters Creek Middle School in Orange County. Her mom went to pick her up from school, but surveillance cameras showed that she never made it to campus. Madeline Soto's body was found several days later on March 1st in a wooded area of Osceola County. State Attorney Andrew Bain, who stopped by our studios earlier tonight, says the decision to seek the death penalty is based on several aggravating factors the state intends to prove.
There were several of them. A few had to do with the capital offenses that he's already been charged with. There are others that had to deal with his familial relation with the child. There are others due to the cruel and heinous nature of the events. And so all those factors all put together have allowed us to move forward in deciding whether we're going to see the death penalty.
When asked about other charges in this case, or if other people will face charges, State Attorney Andrew Bain said he's not sure yet. The investigation is still open and ongoing regarding that matter. He adds Stephan Sterns has been the main suspect in the death of Madeline Soto. Sterns is also accused of sexually abusing Madeline. His pretrial hearing is set for next month. Back to you.
So just, incredible. I mean, we know all these facts. We know all these circumstances. However, the trigger was pulled, and he's going to be, the state will be going for the death penalty. And, Mike, one of the things, probably the decisions also to go for the death penalty, is the fact that the cover-up, that he tried to cover this up. And I believe also so did Jennifer Soto. So that had to, sort of aid them in their decision to go to the death penalty, and in addition to the heinous acts that were perpetrated upon. I'm going to put this on the screen too, because we remembered that there were 60 charges that he faced, and the state outlines them in this document I'm going to put up on the screen. 60 charges filed against defendant Stephan Sterns, 8 counts of SB on a child under 12, 5 counts of SB with a child 12 to 18, familial custody authority, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting S performance by a child, 10 or more images. So those charges right there, I believe, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong, he could have got the life in prison just for those.
Oh yeah, I mean, just for the pictures on his phone, without the homicide, he could do life behind bars. It's also, there may also, if you think about it, maybe some sort of federal case, because if he, transmitting pictures of SA between a man and a child, or a woman and a young person over the internet, it may also be a federal statute, a violation. So therefore, without even the death, without even finding Madeline's body, just the fact that what he had on his phone would put him away, probably for the rest of his life, 60 years, 50 years. That's a death sentence for him. Yeah, absolutely. Well deserved.
Like one of the many things in this case, first of all, because of the age of Madeline, we've never, 13 years old, never been apprised of the cause of death. Again, we know the manner, it's murder, it's homicide, but we don't know the cause. And the cause, as opposed to manner of death, is blunt trauma, asphyxia, gunshot wound, poison, stab, any of those things,
Right.
all list as that could be the cause. We don't know the cause because according to Florida statute, they're not allowed to release the autopsy results on a juvenile. So whether we ever find out, I would imagine when this case goes to trial,
Yeah.
we will absolutely find out then. But until then, they're not going to release those details because of the age of Madeline. And I thought that was a little bit of I thought that once someone is dead, the law doesn't protect them any longer. I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, it is strange. I would think that once after they get the autopsy results, the blood, work results from the lab, that sort of thing, that you would probably have the paperwork filed with the county, and then that would be it. And then it'd be a public document. I'm surprised. We will see it at the trial. My guess, my hunch, is it's strangulation or battery to the head and body. That's my guess. I don't think it would be a firearm because we believe that she was killed in her home, and that would be too loud. The neighbors would be calling 911 immediately. But it's going to be whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's going to be horrific because it was done to a child, and that's inexcusable.
Mike, in what you were just talking about, also, we don't know yet either the location of the murder. And that's been sort of a mystery to all of us because we don't know when the last time Jennifer Soto saw her daughter alive, because she wasn't at the birthday party the night before.
Right.
And then she lied about the time that she saw her in the morning, because I believe the time frame was that she said she saw her about 8:00, and
Right.
Stephan Sterns was seen at 7:35 in the morning throwing her laptop and her backpack in a dumpster on the property of the condo. So things like that give me pause in regards to Jennifer Soto, the mom, and why is she lying? Who is she protecting?
Yeah, it's a big difference. A half an hour is a big difference in the morning, and the idea that she may be if it's an intentional misleading of the police in order to try to give a window of opportunity for Stephan Sterns to say he dropped her off at the school. That's you are engaging in an act to cover up a felony. So that's conspiracy. She's a conspirator at the very least after the fact, because that's meaningful. That's important because it takes the heat off him in their thought process, that therefore it could misdirect the police to think something happened to her later on in the afternoon, that sort of thing, and not in the morning. So that'd be like an 8 or 9 hour time differential. But it's all very, very still a little ambiguous. But somewhere, as you and I have talked about it, and Phil's talked about it, we think in the early morning hours before 7:30 in the morning that she may have been killed.
Yeah, Pessa from the chat. Maybe the mom was groomed by Sterns too. Maybe he played mother and daughter against each other. Seeing Jen comfort Sterns in the news interview was cringe. It was cringe-worthy. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Really disturbing to see. And I had to think that at that time that she was comforting him, she knew much more than we all knew. Nicole on the roll, in a relationship with him for 5+ years, and not once did she look through his phone out of curiosity. We are women. We do those things. Come on. I like that. The bishop from the chat, police off the cuff. I was watching this update on another channel and it was chaos. It made me appreciate you all more. Thank you, the bishop. We try to be organized and not sensational. We try to give you just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, like Joe Friday and Bill Gannon. My name's happens to be Cannon, not Gannon, but that's what we try to do. Fisher Blue in the chat. Is the thought that she refused and was MB saying she was going to tell either that night or before they set this up? Fisher Blue, we don't know. That would be why did it happen at this point and not much earlier? Why did he choose her 13th birthday? Was this her 13th birthday? Was this a time for her to say no? This is going to stop now? That very well could be, but we don't know. And the police have done a very good job with keeping the inner workings of this case out of the public eye. They're not releasing anything yet from the interior investigation. And we only hear things when they have to, when they must release them. Sour Girl from the chat, I was a single mom. My daughter is grown. There is no excuse for mom. No breaks for her. For me, it's a nope. Okay, I get it. Rachella Pranzo, so good to see you here, Rachella. You and Lieutenant Pete, always great to see you guys. Carol Grayston, so great to see you, one of our great mods, Carol Grayston from Scotland, all the way across the pond in Scotland. That's a bad Scottish accent, but I tried my best. We remember back early on in this case, Chief Mena telling us this story here, and I always refer to this when we try to just reacquaint ourselves with some of the facts of this case.
On the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephan Sterns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day. We have video evidence that shows Stephan Sterns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26th. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster. At 8:19, we have evidence that shows Stephan Sterns returning to the complex and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at that time.
Welcome back. Despite all that evidence that he's laying out, still look at this massive,
Those are the
massive
charges
list.
on the screen.
But I want to specifically look at one area of these charges, which are very significant, especially now in the state of Florida. Sexual battery on a child under 12.
So that is why, that's one of the aggravating circumstances, of course, is the SA on a child under 12. And that's why it becomes a capital murder case. The underlying felony in the commission of a murder. And I don't think you can get any worse than that in a case like this. And that's why this guy is facing the death penalty. Mike.
Billy, at this point, as you're talking and you're showing that clip, I'm thinking, if I'm his attorney, I always try to think from an attorney's viewpoint. If I'm his attorney and I don't want my client going to receive the death penalty, I think the only thing he has at this point, the only bargaining chip he has facing all these charges and these horrific SA charges against a child is if he gives up some of the people to whom he sent images, that sort of thing, because there is a whole other investigation that is spun out from this one involving anybody he may have communicated with by sending pictures and receiving pictures and things like that. They're horrific. You can't get any more horrific than this. This is as bad as it gets for him and for society when people do this sort of thing. If I'm his attorney, the only thing I can counsel him is you better sing like a canary and plead guilty and hope for the best, because he doesn't have anywhere to go. All of that stuff is on his phone. We talk about this. That's a life sentence right there. You've got nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. You can't go left, right, forward, back. They got you dead to rights, and they've got him on video with the Madeline in the car, and she may have already been previously deceased by that point, putting her book bag and laptop and I think a jacket in the dumpster. They've got that. His timeline has does not match the timeline that he that matches the timeline they got him on video. It's horrific, but the one good thing that will come of this is that we may get a lot of other predators, child predators, investigated, imprisoned in Florida and all around the country based on that phone. So that is only one good thing that comes from this whole entire horrific fiasco.
Mike, I think you're right. I think that this investigation into Stephan Sterns and him getting the death penalty will open up a Pandora's box of potential other like-minded people as Stephan Sterns, and everyone knows what I'm talking about in regards to who he is and what he does. And the images on his phone, absolutely, they must have been shared all over the world. And right, as you said earlier, that's a federal charge. Mm-hmm. And that makes him eligible for life in prison just for those charges. Let's not even talk about the homicide and the SA and all of that other stuff, which is what is the conglomeration of everything this mutt has done that's going to put him in for the death penalty. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime from a police perspective, then you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, hit the like button, share us with your friends and your family. And if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels. We also have a YouTube channel membership, which is growing and growing and growing because of you guys, with 5 different levels. And you can join our YouTube channel for a little bit extra of Police Off the Cuff, a little bit more content, a little bit more talking to the principals in this case. Anyway, let me go back to Mike. Mike, I always like to hear, this is his, when he was interviewed. And there was a female detective, I believe, from the Kissimmee police that did really a really outstanding job.
She did
in this interview, and I want to play a little bit of it. We could hear this.
Already spoke to the other detective, right, about everything that kind of happened today. If you can just kind of go over it with us one more time, the timeline from like when you guys woke up and took her to school and all that.
So we woke up early. The plan was that we were going to get McDonald's breakfast on the way. So we made amazingly good time.
I don't mean to interrupt you, okay? Neither of us were here yesterday. So if you can be kind of like specific about like times and stuff like that, okay?
Woke up around 7:15, somewhere around there, which is an early start for us, but we had talked about getting McDonald's breakfast beforehand, so we wanted to make good time. We did make good time. We got out the door maybe 7:30-ish, 7:45-ish, maybe. Got over to that area. She was asleep in the car most of the time, just snoozing until we got there. We got to McDonald's. We're close to McDonald's. I said, "You still want it?" Wasn't interested in the McDonald's anymore, so we continued on. And she wanted to be dropped off a little down the ways from the school. She's got this phase that she's been into lately where she's very particular about what car she's seen getting out of in front of the school. She prefers her mom's car, but my cars are, I guess, kind of hoopties. I get it. It's an image thing. But that was sometime probably between 8:20 and 8:40-ish, somewhere in there. It was along the stretch of the road that on the right side that has all the communities on it. Mm-hmm. Before you get to the overpass. You could see the overpass from where it was. Mm-hmm. So it was on that side, on that stretch of road. And that's where I dropped her off. She said she was going to go wait for her friends. She was going to go find them and hang out and wait for her friends. And I asked if that was going to be okay. She said, "Yeah, it's fine. Kids get dropped off early enough as it is, so it's not totally unusual for that to happen. So it's not usually that early that I drop her off. I do school runs every once in a while for her." I said, "Okay." Let her out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too. And I turned around and was driving away and was watching her in my rearview mirror to make sure that she was going where she's supposed to go. And she was moving in that direction, but she was rummaging around in her backpack or something. What I assumed was probably headphones or something like that. But I find out later that she forgot her phone here, so she may have been rummaging for her phone. but she was still kind of making her way towards that direction. So it looked okay. It looked like any other day. And I just continued on.
After you dropped her off, what did you do?
Stayed, talked to her for a minute, made sure, is it all right that you're going early? Because it was still early. She said, yeah, it's fine. I'm going to hang out and wait for my friends to get there, which she does sometimes. So it didn't sound, outrageous or anything. And that was it. Told her to have a good day. I loved her. She told me she loved me too. I turned around to leave, and I was watching her in my rearview mirror, and she looked like she was walking in the right direction. She was rummaging in her bag a little bit, like I said, but still sort of just shambling in the right direction while she was doing it. So it looked normal. It looked okay.
Mike, without even seeing Stephan Sterns' body language, as we're not able to see because we're just listening to the recording, you could tell he's lying. And someone pointed out in the chat that he's given way too many details. Twice he's saying, "Oh yes, I dropped her off, and I made sure she got out. I told her I loved her, and
she told me she loved me too."
Yeah, and just too much. What do they say? TMI, too much information.
Yeah,
like who speaks like that except a liar? Because he's trying to cover his ass, and he's trying to make what he says believable. Yet, by doing that, it's less believable, and it sounds more deceptive. Nicole on the roll, yeah, very rehearsed. It sounds rehearsed, exactly. Like he's trying to make up things as he goes along. The bishop from the chat, I just cannot fathom why Stephan Sterns thought they wouldn't find the laptop and bag in the dumpster at the apartment. The bishop, yeah, very dumb. He's got to know there's cameras all over the place, and he dumps him in the dumpster in full view of the cameras, and he's caught on it. Phil de Bertard just joined chat in Ireland. Well, welcome from Ireland, one of my favorite countries. Let me go back to his interview.
Okay, and then what did you do after you left the area?
I left to go to the local vape shop because I needed some more vape juice. They weren't quite open yet, so I ended up going back home. Waited about an hour or so, and then went back and checked the vape shop again. It was open, so I got what I needed there, and came back.
Do you remember what time you came home?
The first time was probably right around 10, close to it. And then I waited here and went back to the vape shop. Probably finished at the vape shop and came back home again a little after 11.
And then what did you do after that?
I had a couple errands to run over on 192. She was talking about making a BJ shopping list. She just wanted to make sure I was back in time for us to both go pick up. So I was visiting some card shops around the area on 192. I'm kind of a nerd, so we had a new trading card game release, and I was seeing what the situation was with it.
Do you remember what places you visited?
Yeah, Coliseum of Comics. Stopped by a couple Targets, and I was going to go to House Rules Games down by Oak and 192, but I didn't make it that far. I got a flat tire on the way.
Do you remember where you got your flat tire?
It was on 192. I pulled into one of those plazas somewhere.
Now the flat tire was self-serving, because that is where he had dumped Madeline's body. And so he's making up things as he goes along. And I'm not exactly, I'm not all convinced with the timeline. I know.
Oh, it's way off.
Yeah, he goes back into the condo complex at some point, and Madeline is in his car. And according to Chief Mena, she appears like she's dead. So when was this time of this alleged flat tire, which is, according to an eyeball witness, the area that the body was found? So the time, the location, the location obviously is right near where the body was found, but the time is unclear. And that, to me, and could be me, but to me has never been sort of nailed down as the proper time?
Yeah, Billy, you could see when you went back to the interview, and the female detective says, "So after you dropped her off, what did you do?" "Well, I made it home." "About what time?" 10 o'clock. He's missing almost 2 hours.
Right.
What were you doing during those 2 hours? And then the vape shop wasn't open. I stayed at home. I went back about an hour and a half later, did some errands, went to a card shop. It looks like he's trying to kill, in the story, he's trying to kill as much time as he can by saying he went to all these different places in order to, like, again, give up a little too much information. Like,
And actually,
oh,
he's trying to confuse the investigators, I
Yeah.
believe, because there's so many gaps
yeah,
that, and folks, someone in the chat just asked, there was an eyeball witness that saw him changing his tire. So that part of the story, whether he actually got a flat tire or that was a ruse to just put him in a certain location or cover for time, but they did have an eyeball witness that saw him in that area where the body was discovered.
right. And he's talked about so he's way off by 2 hours in his calculations. He's going to several targets. You're killing time. You're traveling all over the place. I bet you one of those targets that he's talking about is somewhere down the road, which would give him an excuse to be when he pulls off the road and maybe takes the spare tire out and jacks up his car, walks around for a few minutes, allows people to see him, maybe puts everything back into his trunk. "Oh, I got a flat tire." I want to see that flat tire. I want to see the repair on that flat tire. I want to know, did you take it to a gas station and they put the little thing inside of the hole with the glue and refill it for you? I want to know those things. I don't think he did it. And I think everybody knows that by now. But he put a lot of information in there to try to show that he was all over the place. And as he said, you kind of confuse the issue about time frame. Half an hour here, half an hour there. I was down over here. I was 17 miles away over here. I was out of flat tire. It's a lot of movement that suddenly. I mean, does he do this every single day? He visits several targets and he does this and does that and all over the county. Is that what he does every single day? He doesn't even have a job.
Well, Mike, what a good investigator is doing, and this woman, this female detective, is an excellent investigator. She's letting him hang himself with giving him all the rope he needs, because his own mouth, his own statements are just, he thinks he's slick and he's not, because he's trying to cover his ass. And there's even people in the chat, ATS News, I don't think the flat was a ruse. I don't think he's that smart. I think it was divine intervention and bad luck for him.
Okay.
No, the flat really happened. Or at least if the tire wasn't flat, he pretended he was changing a flat and did so, because that is where the body was discovered. So yes, we know that. Jordan Davies, good point here. I find it crazy that he went back to the complex just to get his gate card. I wonder why he actually went back. It makes no sense the way he describes it. Jordan Davies, you're not the only one confused by that. I am too. It doesn't make any sense to me. If she was in his car, why would you bring a dead body back into the complex? That makes no sense to me either. What was his mental point of view at that point? What was he doing? Mike, do you have any idea?
Really, it's hard to discern from, because we don't have the case file and we don't know what other witnesses have said and talk to the detectives. But I think my guess is he's trying to dance around because he knows there's cameras. He may not know where every camera is, but he knows there's probably one in the front of the gated community. He might not know that there's one where the trash can is, where the trash dumpster is. He might not know that. But I think he's trying to place himself all over, Florida, practically, to say that he was busy here, busy there, blah, blah, all over the place, just in case one camera picks him up and he doesn't know about it. he could say, "Oh, I forgot, I was over there, and I was over here, and oh, I forgot about that one. No, I was over there." But it's just remarkable that he adds so much information in order to try to, throw the police off, because his story seems like a little attenuated and not very, very convincing to anybody. And I think the great thing with that female detective is her voice never changed once. She never goes, "Oh my goodness. Oh, really?" It was very deadpan. And that is really fantastic.
No, Mike,
Give him
Mike, as a
all
good
the time.
Mike, a good investigator lets the person talk, especially if he's lying. Let him
Yeah.
keep lying. Let it,
Mhm.
because you know why? Because I'm going to confront him with his lies the second half of this interview, and I'm going to show him why I know he was lying. All right. I'm going to use science. I'm going to use logic. I'm going to show this moron why I know he was lying, and this female detective did a great job of listening. Yeah, oh, okay. And where'd you go next? Let him keep lying, because things are easy to check. Oh, you were in that store? Okay, what time? Go check the video. He was never there. So all of those things. But the thing was, they never got a rebuttal interview after that, because obviously we know what happened.
Mhm.
He found those horrific images on his phone after he thought he did a factory reset on his phone, because he thought he was slick with that too. And he had erased everything. But guess what, Dopey? You didn't. You didn't. And that's why you made the case easier for the state, at least initially. And you were still suspect numero uno for the murder of this poor young girl named Madeline Soto. But you made it easy so they could throw your sorrowful ass in jail while they continued this investigation and built the case against you for the murder, which is what you are facing now. And that is why now you are facing the death penalty, because you are a miserable moron besides many other things. But you're not, a mastermind criminal. I don't know. Actually, I've never met a mastermind criminal, but that term exists. Trish Norman, I love the eyeball witness. It says they absolutely 100% saw it. Yeah, Trish, that's actually like a police term. We would use that all the time, is that we have an eyeball on it. You have an eyeball witness. And sometimes I use policeisms, copisms without even knowing, because they're ingrained into my vocabulary. We used to use that in anti-crime all the time when we were on a stakeout or following someone on a surveillance. We used to call it follows. We would actually follow and robbers on the street that were going to rob people, and we would conduct surveillance. And we put sometimes 2 or 3 guys out on foot, depending on how many guys. We'd have 2 cars paralleling the perps on different side streets, and then we'd have a officer out on the street, maybe 1. If you could have 2, you had 2. But we would also ask them. We would always ask them, "Do you have an eyeball on him?" Because if you get too close, you can get made, meaning they can make you as the popo, and you don't want that. So to get an eyeball on a potential robber out on the street, you have to get pretty damn close, and you can't always get that close because, as I said, you get made. Anyway, long explanation for why you asked what it means to get an eyeball. Let me go back to the interview, because it's really so interesting in this case.
It's been about 10 years since I switched out a tire, though, so I made a lot of rookie mistakes and ended up pinning my thumb between the frame and the jack. Yeah, I'm lucky it's not a lot worse than it could have been.
Could you imagine the bullshit of a rookie mistake changing a tire? Who doesn't know how to change a damn tire? Dude, you're 37 years old, you little clown. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? You what a moron. Rookie mistakes, changing a damn tire. That's something you're supposed to learn the minute you drive a car, and he's 37 years old. He's such a clown, this guy.
Do you remember the name of the plaza by any chance? Do you remember what stores were in this plaza?
It was like right before you got to Oak, though, so it was one of those little strips.
Okay.
I don't know if you've probably been asked already, but she's never ran away or been away for longer than a certain period of time, amount of time. Like that.
No, she's very dependent on us. I don't think she'd know what to do if she did run away. She's not the type.
You notice how he puts different inflections on his voice. So she's not the kind of girl that would run away. Like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, you're lying, and now you're getting even more sickening. You're not Laurence Olivier, But he would put those inflections in his voice to sort of pretend that he was upset.
Yeah. Yeah, showing pain. I mean, if you're going to talk about, you have children, I have children. If one of them is missing, we're not going to start, our voices are going to be straining when we're talking to the police. We're going to be worried. We're going to be very scared, but we're not going to be sitting there demonstrating pain. You're a grown man, for goodness sakes. Get a hold of yourself. You know what I mean? It does seem rather strange. Like you say, he's acting. He's acting. He's showing concern at times that he thinks are appropriate to the police in order to show how much he's hurting. Really bad acting.
Absolutely. Blondini from the chat. He took her back knowing he'd be on camera, trying to make her look alive still. You know, Blondini, I wouldn't disagree with you, but I don't think he's that smart. I don't think he has enough brain cells to think of something like that. S.L. Connolly, I agree. Stephan Sterns isn't smart enough to plan a fake flat tire. Yeah. Coco Puff Bear, he can't even say Madeline's name. Isn't that true? I don't think he said her name once.
Well, good point.
During this interview. Roberts May Queen, a narcissist always thinks that they are the smartest person in the room. Good point. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Let's see who else we got here. Thorn Blader's lash. Too many details for a mundane routine. Yes, I think that is a sign, Thorn Blader's lash, of deception or attempted deception. He's trying to fool people, but he's fooling no one, you know. Willis Slater, I don't want to give anyone any ideas, but if he wanted to point to blame at a stranger abduction, it makes more sense for the backpack laptop to be with Manny or at a dumpster near the drop-off. Willis Slater, you know, right. Again,
good point.
This guy's not a smart guy. You know, everything he did, got him caught. Didn't help him get away with it. Mr. G. Brooks, thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. We need more strict sentencing for child P's and tax cuts for citizen journalists who fight this. Yeah, this Mr. G. Brooks, this is a horrific crime, and I agree. It's just, look, he is facing the death penalty. Whether he gets it or not, we will have to see. Ara Richan 74. JS and SS stayed at the Town Place Suites at Flamingo Crossings on 27th to 28th. On the 28th, they gave Jen a ride to the station. She kept referring to Maddie in the past tense. Yeah, those are things that, many of you guys have noticed that. And those are things, of course, that the investigators also notice. And they will... Look, I'm baffled again, and I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again as to why Jennifer Soto has yet to be charged. Let me go back to the interview. We'll finish this up here.
She's a good kid.
Besides the ADHD, is she diagnosed with anything else?
Yeah, she was tested a while back and had some symptoms of autism, so she's potentially on the spectrum there.
Okay.
She was officially diagnosed with it when she was younger, and then she was retested and said, well, she shows symptoms of being on the spectrum, but maybe not full-on autistic.
When did you come back to help? Pardon?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like, because you lived down south, right? When did you come back up north to help her?
I just got here this weekend.
Do you remember what day it was?
Sunday was her birthday party, so yeah, it was the evening after her birthday party. Sunday.
Okay. Do you remember what time you got here on Sunday?
8:30ish, maybe.
Okay.
Just in time to make sure that she was doing all her nighttime routines. Waiting for her mom to get home.
Did you guys go anywhere last night? Was that media?
Maybe. I think Fox 35 or something was coming.
Let me tell him to take it.
Okay.
I don't recall. You have to ask her if we went anywhere. I don't recall. I was so zonked out on Ativan at that point.
Okay.
Just I was a wreck. I don't.
And this would have been when?
I don't recall us going anywhere last night, but honestly, At that point, my brain was mush, and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. It's just,
You said Ativan.
yeah.
You make a U-turn. You go back to the McDonald's. But you said that she still doesn't want the
Still
McDonald's.
doesn't want it. She was just going to eat the Danishes that I had given her.
So you're going up here now, still northbound on Jonghyun Parkway.
Mm-hmm.
You make a left at Town Center this time.
Town Center, then make,
Then
a,
make a
right
right.
onto,
Mhm.
yes.
And
the
then you
school
drop
road.
her off
And
around
then
like
dropped her off around halfway up the road there.
So keep in mind, all of this is still northbound,
Okay.
right? You're still northbound on Jonghyun Parkway.
Yeah.
So why is your car seen going southbound at 8:10? I'll show you what location it is.
So this is when they start questioning him, going in on his lies with truths that they know. And that is how you get a criminal to really, he's either going to stop tap dancing and request an attorney, or he's going to try to cover his lies with, oh, I just couldn't remember. You could be right. I may have mistaken. But this is when they start to confront him. And this is when I love to hear interviews. The skill of the investigators is great.
McDonald's is over here.
Mm-hmm.
At 8:10, your car is seen going southbound at this intersection. So meaning going toward Kissimmee.
Mm-hmm. I had forgotten something. I had forgotten my gate clicker. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Boom. Oh, that is so horrific that he tried to make that up right there, that he had forgotten his gate clicker. And that's the reason he turned out, because he knows he got nailed in a lie.
Right.
And now he makes up another lie to cover up the first lie. And as they continue the investigation, I think he can start to feel the heat, He could start to feel the pressure. He could start to feel the fact that no one is believing what he says. Let me go back and finish this up here.
I had gone back to the house real quick after we left because I forgot my gate clicker. I actually had to go through the front gate and use my parking pass to grab my clicker. So it was the wrong time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was guesstimating these times. I'm not a morning person.
He said that I don't know how many times in his interview. I'm not a morning person. It was the Ativan. I know. Oh, I got to get my gate clicker. This guy is so pathetic, But I was so whacked out on Ativan. What are you driving a car for then, fool?
Oh, right. Exactly. Which gives you you could say it was all a blur. I'm not sure because like they're asking him, what did you do last night? This is 24 hours ago. If you ask me what I was doing 24 hours ago, I could tell you, but his excuse is, I was so zonked out. I have no recollection of last night whatsoever. Really? Are you out of your mind? Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
Mr. G. Brooks, thank you again for the $4.99 super sticker. Never should have reached an unalive case. Panel me. I've interviewed an 8-time Emmy winner on this topic. Yeah, this guy, Stephan Sterns. Let's finish the interview because if anything, it is interesting to show how an inept liar he is.
I don't think I have any other questions. Do you, Louis?
I don't know where my head was yesterday. It was so far up my backside.
That's okay. We understand. In the meantime, while we're waiting for all this to get sorted out, I am going to hold on to your phone, okay? I'll give it back to you when we're done. Okay? Do you have any questions for us?
How long are you going to need my phone?
I'm not sure. I'm waiting for my supervisor to call me.
My dad. It's just my dad's using that to get a hold of me and get updates.
They can call Jen's phone.
Okay.
Did the other detective give you his business card?
I believe so.
Okay, well, here's mine in case you want it for any reason.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you swear that everything you told us is true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. I know it's a little hectic right now.
So with her taking his phone, I'm pretty sure she took it and had him sign a consent to search form, because that is almost as good as a search warrant. Because For her to search through his phone legally, she would either need consent or a search warrant. So
right.
you heard him say, yes, she could look through his phone, that she's going to take his phone. He said, okay. Then all of a sudden he was, how long are you going to have it? All of a sudden he started getting a little concerned. Did I really factory reset this phone? Are all those bad images out of there? But he used the excuse that, my dad is trying to call me. And she said, that's okay. He could call Jen's phone, right? Without missing a beat. She was great. And
Right.
that's when they found the real bad stuff. And I would have loved to have listened to the interview when they came back and they said, you know something, we found some things on your phone. You want to talk about it? And I think that's exactly when he said, I think I want to speak to an attorney. And that I think was when he knew his gig, his lying, it was all over. Mike?
Yeah, he knew. He could say, remember when she asked, you have any questions? And he hesitated. When am I going to get my phone back? Like, it's not like if she's, if you're a normal person who's not guilty of anything and the police are interviewing you and, it's one of your children missing and they say, okay, anything, you have anything? I'd be like, where can I help? What can I do? Tell me, give me a role to play. Should I stay by the phone in the house? Should I talk to neighbors? Should I go out with a bunch of volunteers? All he's worried about is that phone. That's all he's worried about.
Yeah, because he's worried about himself, and this next video I'm going to play is the body cam video from the police, which came out just around last week. We showed this is very interesting to all of us. And it also shows a lot of Jennifer Soto and her body language and her involvement in this, and just very unusual, to say the least.
Hey there.
Hey there. What's going on?
So my daughter was dropped off close to school this morning, but never made it. I went to pick her up from school.
I'm sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Are we looking for another kid or we have a kid?
Looking for another one.
Alright, so people are still on the scene, let's put that out in the hospital location. How old?
13.
I'm trying to get there right now. Okay. So she was supposed to be dropped off at school, didn't make it to school.
Didn't make it to school. I went to pick her up from school today,
Okay.
and she never came out. They announced it over the speaker, and I'm just like, maybe she walked here because sometimes she'll walk here to this office.
Mhm.
I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also messaged her teacher, and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either.
Okay.
So she never made it.
Okay. What's her name?
Madeline, Madeline,
Madeline. Last name?
Soto, SOTO.
Soto.
Yeah.
Date of birth?
February 22nd, 2011.
February 27, 2000.
22nd,
Oh, sorry. 22nd,
2011.
2011.
Just had her 13th birthday.
13.
1418 Charlie Worldwide. What's the name of the single aid?
Mike, look at his arms folded in front of him. And, as all these, internet body language experts say, that's a sign of being defensive, and he folds his arms all the time. And his body language, of course, is appropriate for a guy who's lying and being deceptive, but not appropriate for a concerned person who's concerned about their, can't even call Madeline his stepdaughter, concerned about his girlfriend's daughter.
Interestingly, when the mom, Jennifer, says she was dropped off, he doesn't jump in and say, I dropped her off at 7:45 in the morning or something. He's not participating whatsoever when he supposedly was the last person to see her alive. Very interesting. He's not even participating as a guardian, as a parent. He's got his arms folded. Very, very strange that he wouldn't volunteer and help give the officer, some more information. Very, very interesting.
Absolutely.
Madeline Soto, age 13. I'm trying to get a clothing description now. What was she last seen wearing?
County Charlie Worldwide. People hit my call 931 the same call. green hoodie,
Green hoodie,
white Crocs,
white Crocs.
either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts.
Yeah.
There you go. Black shorts. The mom says black shorts, and she allegedly didn't even see her. And he says blue or black pants.
Right.
So again, they're not even on the same page together as to they're not. If in fact Jennifer is complicit in this, which I believe she is, which one of them are lying, or both? Are they both lying, or is Stephan lying, or is Jennifer lying?
Yeah, I think you know what your daughter goes out to school wearing, and very, very strange.
If she saw her at all, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, if she saw her at all.
Black shorts. Okay. Black shorts. All right. Do you know if she has like friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where they live. Okay.
I asked all of them.
Okay. Is this like, does she like have any places that you guys know that she'll usually be at? Any friend's house? Any places that like she likes to hang out?
Typically.
I just want to answer this. Mr. G. Brooks, do you need consent to search a sex offender on probation? That's a great question. The police do. Probation or parole, if he's on probation or parole, they do not. They can be as intrusive as they want. They can go into the house of the probationer or the parolee unannounced. They could search the house. You don't want us to do that? Then don't accept probation. Don't accept parole. Stay in prison, right? So good question, G. Brooks. The police are not allowed to do that. However, parole and probation are absolutely allowed. Good, very good question.
No.
Not typically.
No.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I get some.
Thank you.
No problem. And what school she goes to?
Hunters Creek Middle School.
Hunters Creek Middle. All right, cool. 125.
Notice how dark it is. It's already
You guys
evening time.
Yep.
Do you have a picture of her? Can you airdrop it to me?
Yeah, I know. Let me see which picture. I don't know which picture.
Like you recently, probably from a birthday party, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't there, so I have to look at. What's up?
Go ahead. That's what I'm about to grab right now. Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you.
Is this a good enough picture, or do you need a whole
Yeah,
body
that's
picture?
Obviously, the police want this picture so they can disseminate the picture out to the patrol force, and they can search for this little girl throughout the neighborhood, put it out there. In today's world now, you just email it to everyone's phone, or text it to every single phone. Almost every police department have department phones, and every officer has one. And I mean, that's part of technology that we didn't have when we were on the job. They would actually have to have a Polaroid made or a one-on-one camera, take a picture of the picture and then disseminate it manually to the patrol force, which of course took much more time and was much more labor intensive to do that, and then copy it with a copy machine. That's where we were. It's like we were hitting two rocks together to start a little spark so we could start a fire. That's what I always compared it to. The NYPD had the top technology when we were on the job. I say that sarcastically.
I
got you. Okay, where's the photo? Right there.
Notice Stephan Sterns hasn't changed one bit.
No, he's still got his arms folded.
He's not contributing anything to this.
I saved it to my photos, so you could.
You saved it to your photos?
Yeah, we can just
Perfect.
go straight to the photos.
Perfect. Give me a second. Okay. I'm gonna send it out right now to my other guys.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So that was the body cam video, and you heard the audio of the officer that responded to the location. They were at the night, the 27th of February. That was when she was reported missing, and obviously that they didn't find her. It seemed like a very clumsy attempt by Jennifer and Stephan Sterns, who couldn't stop unfolding his arms, being deceptive. But again, like a video like that can tell you a great deal about deceptiveness. How was their behavior? Their behavior was inconsistent with two people that were really sorry that one of them, it was her daughter missing, and the other just full of deception. Mike.
Bill, what struck me is I was looking at him first, noticing his arms are folded. He barely talked. He said one thing about the pants. She corrected him. He did not volunteer any information whatsoever to say, "Oh, I was the guy that dropped her off. Yeah, I saw her at 7:45 or whatever." And also, then looking at Madeline, if you're a mom or you're a dad, and your child is missing now, and it's 8 o'clock at night. Remember, it's 12 hours after she was last seen alive. If you truly think that she's really out there and that she's in danger, you would be freaking out. The idea that Madeline is just sitting there very, very calm. I know we all show stress differently, but the calmness and the basic quietness of the two of them is very telling. It doesn't seem like they're concerned that their living daughter is out there somewhere lost, and nobody can find her. She's been missing for 12 hours. Oh my God. How could she not have come to school? It's either A, she's done this many times before, and she always shows, she always comes back 10 o'clock at night or whatever. So they're not really too concerned, or they already know what the deal is, and they're going through the motions because they have to. Very, very strange affect for the two of them.
Absolutely. Elizabeth Rodriguez from the chat. How about polygraph testing on both, especially JS? Well, Elizabeth, you can't give a polygraph to someone unless they consent to it. Stephan Sterns has invoked counsel. The polygraph's out for him. Jennifer Soto, she would probably never agree to it. And in addition, polygraphs are not conclusive, cannot be used in a court of law. So, I can't remember a single time on the NYPD that we used a polygraph. I swear. And all these other departments I hear, oh yes, we polygraphed them. I don't remember a single time. And in my career, maybe before that. And apparently they were looking to start, when I was on the job, they were looking to start a polygraph unit. And for whatever reason, it never got off the ground. I think perhaps because it's not reliable. And it's really, the only thing you can use it for is to intimidate somebody. You can give someone a polygraph and tell whether they failed or not. You could tell them they failed and see if they come around and tell the truth. No, I mean, that's what's been commonly done. Oh, you failed miserably. You want to talk to me now? And sometimes that works, and even if someone passed, and you guys may think that is dirty pool, but are the police allowed to lie to a suspect? Yeah, it's actually in the criminal procedure law. They call it a ruse. They're allowed to use a ruse to attempt to get the truth. So that's the only way I could see. That's the only way I could see it to be semi-useful. Other than that, I don't see it as a useful tool. Your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, Billy, it's not considered reliable enough because over the course of years and things like that, they know that it doesn't pick up lies for some people. So it has people who may be lying aren't caught because there is no blood pressure change, or their fingertips, the blood pressure, maybe a little sweating in their hands. That's not picked up. Or people are so nervous that they start to freak out a tiny bit because they realize they're hooked up to a machine. it's just not the reliability. It's not proven to be as reliable as we once thought it was. So it's good as an investigatory tool. It's good for people coming on the job. You could do a lie detector test, and ask them serious questions about their previous criminal conduct, things like that. But you can't introduce it as evidence in a court of law. So it's a good investigatory tool, like you say. But other than that, you really can't go very far with it. Yeah. Hey, Bill. There you go.
We took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right now.
Do you notice she said we?
We.
She said, let me go back and we'll listen to this again. So that's deception.
Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street and walked to school, what we thought walked to school.
She wasn't there, but she's telling the story as if she was there, and she's using we. So this is early on in the investigation, and she's already lying. So I'm sure the police know this too. Again, my question is, why has she not been charged? She's lying from day one.
Billy, at the very least, she's an accessory after the fact. At the
Absolutely.
very least.
Let's just go back to this.
My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away at that point. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. But she never made it.
That was totally made up. That never happened. So when we first heard this, it was like, oh, so who told them that? Or did they just make that up? Did the police tell them that as a ruse to try to get them to, because they knew they were lying, and to use it as a ruse to try to get them to tell the truth? Or did she just make that up right on the spot?
That walk and that was around 9 a.m. when she got up. She never made it to school after that. It's right next to the school. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way or if she got taken, but she never made it.
And that was the last anyone's seen of her or heard from her?
Yes. I went to pick her up after school, and she wasn't there. So I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. Drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to the school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
Have you heard from any of her friends? Has she been active on any social media?
She hasn't been active on social media. None of her chats, none of her games. We did contact all her friends. None of them had seen her Monday or heard from her. There's no update.
And I have to ask this, and I know I hate doing it, but is she the type that would run away? Has this happened in the past or anything? Has she ever threatened to run away?
Never. She's never ever mentioned anything like this before. And she's not the type to want to do this. She did accidentally leave her phone on Monday, which is kind of normal for her. She's got ADHD and very forgetful. So she left her phone at home, so there's no way to trace her. They tried tracing her school laptop, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything.
Jen, what is your fear? I know you mentioned she's on games and stuff. Do you think she could have met somebody and tried to meet up with them?
She's open to us. She's open with us about, if she's got a crush with anyone, and she told us she had a crush on someone at school. And I looked at their messages, nothing was weird. I looked at all of her messages, all of her deleted messages. Nothing seemed weird. It didn't seem like she was talking to anyone. So I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken, because this is not like her at all to just disappear and not tell us, not let us know where she's going or who she's with. Yeah.
What are you getting from law enforcement? Are they actively searching for her? I mean, what happens now? I mean, especially that she doesn't have her phone with her.
So as far as I know, they're conducting a search around the school. Behind the school, there's a Shingle Creek. There's a wooded path area that you could walk. It's a hiking path. They are going back there with their canine dogs. They've taken a piece of her clothing to see if they can trace her scent. They're also taking their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her. But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We've had people all day on that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar and like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers. So I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out, to get some help, because I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now.
So you think that she's been taken against her will?
I do think so, yes.
As a mom, what's your mother's intuition telling you right now?
I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay, and I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back, whatever that means. I just want her back.
Are you?
Mike, during this whole interview, as you see, the dope who drove her to school is standing back there, just twiddling around, twiddling his thumbs. Wouldn't you be there comforting your girlfriend, your wife, or whatever, when she's telling this horrible story and she's in so much pain? And he's in the background, like a dope that he is, just standing there like an absolute moron. What do you think?
Yeah, Billy, he's not helping her in any support, emotional support whatsoever. He's not contributing. He's not saying, oh, yeah, it was like 9:15. I was driving the car, that sort of thing. He's just walking around almost as if like he doesn't really care what she's saying. When she's breaking down, you don't see him put his arm around her. He's not, doing what you would think a normal. I know he's not her biological parent, but he's her guardian. How a guardian would act in this way by comforting the mom of the lost child. You don't see that. It's very, very telling. Very telling. I agree.
Yeah, and this is very early on, of course, in the investigation. So everyone, of course, is giving them the benefit of the doubt and believing them, even though we know as the police, that 95% of the time when there's foul play, it's someone close to you. It's someone, and in this case, you could almost read this case before Stephan Sterns was even charged that he was the guy. Right away, you could figure this out because of his behavior. And of course, the police, the Kissimmee police, read into this immediately. And, they were good, though. They didn't let on that he was a suspect. They talked to him like he was perfectly normal. Yes. So, and then would you go after that? And what'd you do? And he was the one that got defenses. Oh, I was on Ativan. I was so whacked out. You're like, dude, you're making excuses. Oh, I'm not a morning person. Oh, he apologized about 4 or 5 times during that interview, which I found tremendously a red flag. Like when someone over apologizes, it's definitely a sign of deception.
Yeah, and the time frame, he's given himself hours of leeway, and going 12 different places, visiting all kinds of stores, and not being able to give a timeline whatsoever that actually makes sense. It's all just made up. He's just dancing as fast as he could, coming up with any sort of excuse he can come up with. Great interviewing by the cops.
Absolutely a tap dancer. That's what we would call him.
you getting any updates from law enforcement? I mean, yes, they're searching that small area, but have they gotten any hits on any scent or anything like that?
They haven't let me know anything. They haven't updated me since I spoke to them this morning. I've contacted them to get some information or to give them some leads, but I've heard nothing back.
And Jen, there's no way that she, just being, a teenager, was like, maybe had a fight with you or an argument with you and was like, you know what, I'm going to go hang out at so-and-so's house and teach her a lesson. Could that be a scenario?
I don't believe so. We actually haven't gotten into a fight in like a few weeks or arguments or anything like that. If anything, on Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with my entire family and she had the best day. She was so happy. She showed us all her gifts. She's just a happy girl, and she showed it on Sunday night when she went to bed. She was so happy. So, she had the best day. I just, there was no moment in that evening from when she got home from the party that she had her phone or had the laptop. She went straight to getting ready and went to bed. So I know she didn't have any conversations with anyone. She didn't make plans with anyone. I didn't see any of that.
So she spent the whole Sunday celebrating her 13th birthday. Was her 13th birthday on that Sunday, or that was just like the time you guys were celebrating?
That was the time we were celebrating. Her birthday was on Thursday, the 22nd. She just turned 13.
That's just so heartbreaking to be celebrating her 13th birthday, and then the very next day, that's gone. The last you've seen of her.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you go now? Are you gonna go out there and search or look, or what is are you sticking by the phone? Are you what are you doing?
I'm staying at home, staying by the phone, hoping she just appears. I know my entire family is out looking. They've all spread a bunch of flyers. I've had people contact me that they've gone to the international airport to spread flyers, to Amtrak, to Greyhound, just any way that if someone's taken her and they're trying to take her, just to show her face, just to make sure, she's not being taken against her will.
And you mentioned ADHD. Was there anything else maybe mentally going on or that you knew of?
Mike, I just want to stop there. What parent would say, I believe she was taken? Where the hell did that come from? You know what I mean? Why do you believe that? What evidence do you have of that? And of course, this is just a news reporter questioning her. And I would love to read the detective notes of an interview with her. Why did she believe she was taken? What, as you would say, Mike, say the words, is that consciousness of guilt?
Consciousness of guilt, possibly, because it may be, and as you're talking, I'm thinking maybe, possibly Stephan Sterns put it into her mind that, maybe somebody came along after I dropped her off and took her, saw her walking by herself, that sort of thing. It must be that somebody took her because there's no other explanation. Maybe that's something, it's like a defensive mechanism that she's putting out there to say, we didn't do anything wrong as parents. We didn't do anything bad. We weren't neglectful. Somebody took her. You're talking about somebody taking her. Now you're telling the news reporter you dropped her off at a location that's right. She used the term twice, right next to the school. She said that twice, right next to the school. Right next to the school to me means, within, 50, 100 yards of the school, meanwhile, we know that's not true. And we know that it's not even true because we know it didn't happen. And B, he said that he dropped her off a couple of blocks away, which is like a mile away from school. Right. So she's saying all kinds of things that don't seem to hang together when you sit there and analyze them separately to say, does this hang together? And he's still sitting in the background, sitting on a stool, not contributing whatsoever. Very, very strange. Like you say, you'd love to see the detective notes as they're reviewing that film footage. Yeah.
Well, he's not contributing because he knows what happened to her.
That's right.
He killed her, and he probably figures, let me keep my mouth shut because I'll just implicate myself the more I talk. But Mike, I think there's something more sort of, sinister in this. And I think that maybe Jennifer Soto knew all along too that her daughter was dead and that Stephan killed her. And this is all an act, a bad act, not a very good performance. But I think maybe she knew about it all along. And the proof of that is she's using the we.
Right.
And she's saying she did things that she never did. She's saying she was places where she never was. So why do you lie, Mike?
I think she's now this is not an excuse. Definitely not. So don't even jump on me. But I think she's a very needy person. She needs Stephan in her life to help her. And that this has happened. She may have known over the course of a number of years what has been going on. But if she confronts him, then that destroys her whole entire at-home life. So it changes. It's like we see this with sexual abuse, essay within the family. This is not denial is not an uncommon, sadly, it's not an uncommon reaction that people have to it. They do not want to confront it and they want to sweep it under the rug. So she's, I think, going through all the motions like you suspect, and that she knows exactly what happened. She might not have been there. She knows exactly what happened, and she's doing the best she can to say, oh, she was abducted, a stranger got her. And that's trying to weave a whole other world, a whole other alternative reality that she can't deal with. She's not strong enough to deal with that and protect her daughter. She's too weak to protect her daughter. She's been too weak to protect her daughter for years, and she's certainly not going to start now. And I think that's where her head is at.
Well, I think it could be many different things, but I think we're all sort of waiting for the second shoe to drop in the potential arrest and prosecution of Jennifer Soto. And I've been saying it since the very beginning that I believe she's involved in this. And so far, no arrest. And again, I guess the police can take their time with this till they have an absolutely rock solid case, but I'll be surprised down the road she does not get arrested. Just to give you guys a recap, this show, basically the update was about that the state, of course, is seeking the death penalty against Stephan Sterns. And we read the charges early on, basically to give a synopsis of it. It's because it's murder with aggravating factors with an underlying felony. And that's as simple as I can make it without reading the 4 subdivisions to murder first degree that are causing Stephan Sterns to be charged, or the state is going to charge Stephan Sterns with murder in the first degree, and they are seeking the death penalty. Mike, I want to just also thank you for coming on the show today. You're always, seems like you're always available. And I call you up with no notice and you say, yeah, I'll come on. And I just want to let you know I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mike, your final thoughts here today.
Final thoughts for everybody is just pray for justice for Madeline. Just pray for justice for her, and whatever form that takes regarding her mother and Stephan Sterns. Just pray for her and keep her in your prayers, because what she went through is undeniable. Is just horrible. No child should go through that. And he's a monster, and he's right where he belongs right now. Just pray for her.
Well, thank you for those thoughts, folks. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Again, if you're not subscribed, hit our subscribe button. Join the Police Off the Cuff family. And until the next time, I'm Bill Cannon signing off. We'll see you soon.
Good day.
One episode just ain't enough.